Hello! In this tutorial we are going to see a few use cases of the camlistore client tools, such as camput and camget. We are going to use the default camlistore configuration, or I'm going to assume that you know how to configure camlistore, and we already have a camlistore server running. The main function of camput is to push things to your camlistore server. For example, you will probably want to upload files to your camlistore server. So that's what we are going to do. If I now start with running just camput, I get an error message because camput has different subcommands or modes, which are listed here, and we have a few examples below. And what we want to start with is the file mode, because we want to upload a file. So let's say I want to push the ./readme file in the camlistore tree to a camlistore server. What I will do is camput file ./readme, like this. We can now, so you can see that we have the output, a blob ref of the blob that was uploaded. We can now list with camtool list all the blobs which are on our camlistore server, and we can see two of them. I can now download these blobs so that we can see them here with the command camget. So let's get this first one. So now we are seeing that these blobs contain some sort of metadata, which says that it points to a file which is named readme, and the parts specify the contents of the readme files, which are spread onto various blobs. And since the readme file is really small, it fits in only one blob, which is the one we've seen here. So let's now get that one. And indeed it contains the contents of the readme file. Alright. Now, as you may or may not know, in camlistore blobs are immutable, and since we are doing some content addressable storage, you want, for example, to be able to point or have a reference to a permanent reference to a file, even though in time it could change and you would have new blobs for this file. You want to be able to always point at this file, and that is the role of permanodes. That's how they are called in the camlistore model. So we are now going to create a permanode for this readme file, and we can do that again with camput file, and this time we use the file nodes flag, again with the readme file. Boom. As you can see, we now have 3 more blobs. If we do camtool list, we now have 5 blobs in our camlistore server. And I'm going to start with this one, again with camget. And you can see right away here that it is in fact a GPG key, because everything in camlistore that is signed with GPG. So the server needs your GPG key, and camput actually automatically uploaded it to the camlistore server. But that is a detail. Let's now have a look at this blob with camget again. And we indeed see that it is something that is called a permanode. And you can notice that it was signed with this blob, which is actually what I've shown above, which is the GPG key. Alright. And finally, if we get this one, we see that it is what we call a claim, which is how we model mutations in permanode. A claim says that it modifies this permanode, which is the one I've shown above. The modification it does is it sets an attribute. The attribute it modifies is camli content, and it sets this attribute to the value here, which is, if you remember, camget this value which is the blob file for the README file. Okay. And now, if I go to my browser and to my camlistore UI, I can now see that I indeed have a permanode for the README file. Okay. Now, onto the point of permanodes. Let's say you want to model the fact that you want to change your README file to another file, to the authors file, and you want your permanode to now point to this other authors file. What you would do is you would again use camput file./authors. Okay, we now have two more blobs, again one file blob and one for the content. And well, what we want to do, we can check it out. We can check that one. Okay, again we have the authors file and the path here. And what we want to do is we want to modify our permanode to point to that. So we do camput atr. We want to modify the permanode, our permanode, which was here. There we go. We want to modify its camli content that way, and we want to set it to a new value, which is the one of the authors file here, like this. And we can indeed see that we now have a new claim, which has the values that we've just talked about. And if I go to the UI, you can now see that my permanode points to the authors file. All right. Have fun.